Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. I love you all. My name is miahtheking, and I don't make jokes about lazy people. Want to know why? Because they never work. Thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you're wondering why you clicked on my video, then let me tell you. For the corny one-liner jokes at the beginning of every video, of course. And if not, then perhaps because I'm one of the few, if not only, reviewers out there who can figure out if you need this game in 10 minutes or less. And just look at this title screen. I love it. This is just magical. I don't even know what it is or why it is, but it really gets to me. Now then, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Mirthwood, a fantasy medieval survival life sim kind of game developed by Bad Ridge Games and published by V Publishing, released not in early access and selling for $25. So what is this? Well, basically you play as a character who you can fully customize, and when I say fully, I mean fully. You can choose your profession, your background, what you look like, and of course your name. It's actually far more than I was expecting. Anyway, you live with your family in some small village, and then it's attacked by an army or bandits or something. You run away and board a ship to new lands where you start your life over again from the ground up. It's a farming sim, life sim, fantasy adventure kind of game. Okay, so that's the gist of what it is. Now on to the good and the bad, and I highly encourage you to listen to both sides. Sometimes the good is bad enough to overlook the bad, and vice versa. So up first for the positives is the art style. From the Steam store page, I wasn't really digging it. Kind of looked lazy and half-assed or ugly, maybe dark and creepy for a farming sim, which I wasn't really feeling. But once I got into the game, I noticed it was actually a lot better. There's a lot of attention to detail, great contrast, good color palettes, and the whole shebang. It's not my preferred type of art style for a game like this, to be fair, but it's not bad at all. It's very unique and interesting and works well with the mood and the theme that they're going with here. Next up for the positives is the sound design. It's got great quality here. I mean, the music is pretty much perfect. When there's combat, there's good combat music, and when you're just traveling around doing whatever, you've got decent background music to fill the void. Not that it's needed, as the game has great ambiance. You can legit hear the wind ruffling through the trees or the random birds cawing. Your footsteps sound good, the other sound effects of combat or mining, chopping, or animals or whatever all sound realistic and decent. And the game even has some voice acting. Mostly just the narrator, but she does a phenomenal job not sounding forced or corny or cringy at all.
Home is not where you're from. It's where you find light when all grows dark. And your story begins in darkness.
The next good thing that I want to talk about is the gameplay. Now, this is a typical farming sim game at its base. They want you to hoe the ground, plant the seed, water the seed, chop the trees, mine the stones and ore, and everything else. There's crafting, cooking, upgrading your house, building barns and chicken coops, relationships, dialogue options, and a unique conversation mechanic. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of reminds me of The Sims a little bit, about how you click this one to go to this menu, and then you click this thing you want to talk about, and then it shows a plus sign or a negative sign depending on how they're reacting to what you're saying. So, but I don't really mind that too much. And there's also the combat. Now, the combat was a bit tricky to figure out at first, but eventually I got it. If you think of this game as only two-directional, then controlling everything gets pretty easy. You either swing or chop left or right, no matter where you are, or the enemies are, or the resources are. As for the combat, it's kind of just button combos to make sure you are fighting the guy the right way. This button to dodge, this button to parry if you hit this one at the right time, this one strikes, this one heavy strikes, and so on and so forth. The combat is kind of wonky, but it's not exactly bad, it's just really different from anything else that I've done. Anyway, you get this huge, awesome map to explore. I mean, look at how big this is. Can I really explore all of that? Holy crap. Good thing there's a fast travel system in the game, which, by the way, thanks game devs for that one. And as you'd expect, there's a health meter, a hunger meter, and a stamina meter, giving you reasons to sleep, eat, cook meals, etc. The gameplay is kind of freaking awesomely legit, and I'm digging it. But I'm not a fan of the combat. It can get a bit unfair and difficult with the awkward way that it's designed. Up next for the positives, I'm just going to combine 3 of them because I want to make sure that this video stays short. I want to make sure it stays under 10 minutes. I'm trying to get under 8 minutes today. The user interface, the tutorial, and the price. In my opinion, with the replayability options, the customizations, the length of play, the voice acting, the overall size of the game, I think that price tag is very, very appropriate. As for the tutorial, I mean, it's almost perfect. Now, after the beginning, it's kind of scattered about here and there, which does make it a little bit annoying. But when you first jump into the game, it teaches you the main essentials via storyline, so it keeps you engaged and helps you get immersed while you're learning how to play, and I love tutorials like this. And finally, the user interface. Now, at times, some of the menus are a bit harder to navigate and see with poor composition and contrast, but for the most part, the user interface is pretty neat and nice and easy to navigate and understand. I would like it if the menus for inventory and other items that, like, not your personal inventory, like the inventory of your chest or your barrel or whatever, were bigger and easier to see, but for the most part, it's pretty legit. It's pretty standard, average, fair enough to navigate and see and whatnot. Alright, so those are the only things that I could think of to say positively about the game worth a damn. Now on to the negatives, but before we get into those, I humbly offer an extension to you, my loyal viewers, to join the Royal Guard. I know, the Royal Guard is incredibly prestigious and hard to get into, but there are finally some openings. If you wish to join my Royal Guard, then all you need to do is click on that subscribe button. If you're constantly looking for info on random or new games, then click that bell. I review things all the time at complete random just to keep you guys guessing, but if you click on that bell, it kind of ruins my attempt to confound you. It tells you every time I post something. And if you like and leave a comment, I'll be sure to remember your place in glory for all eternity as well as try to respond. So, think about supporting my royal court. Thank you very much. Now then, on to the negatives. The first negative is the stability. Now, the game isn't that bad in this regard, but it did have some issues, and I would not be doing my duty if I didn't mention them. The game suffers from several sound bugs and sound glitches, as well as rare freezings and frequent frame rate drops. They weren't too bad, but we're talking just in my first hour of gameplay, so it's going to add up the longer you play, and it's going to become a little bit more annoying. They need to release a patch to iron some of this stuff out. Not game-breaking, but still, I had to make mention of it. Next up for the negatives is the controls. I don't like them, personally. I don't like how slowly your character reacts and moves after being given a command. I'd like it more if the game were just more responsive. Every time you chop down a tree, for instance, you have to wait 3 seconds after you're finished chopping it down before you can chop the stump and make it go away. I don't know why, as it makes absolutely no sense to interrupt our chopping animation just for nothing, but yeah, that's kind of annoying and frustrating, and it really slows you down, and it just, the more you do it, the more you're rolling your eyes and being annoyed with it. As for the controls, there are no real quick keybinds for switching items or gear. You have to manually hit tab to pull up a mini menu and then choose what you want to grab or use. Now, I like the idea of the mini menu tab button, but I would also very much enjoy allowing us to set key bindings so we can quick use items or at least quickly switch between tools and weapons. But you can't, at least as far as I could tell. Here, you have to equip tools, and then you can use the mouse wheel to cycle between them, but if you want to quickly switch to your sword, you can't. You have to use the tab menu. Same for using healing items. So, it kind of makes the overall flow of the gameplay slow down sufferably, and the ability to fight more effectively a bit more difficult as well. Overall, I kind of really do hope that they make some kind of adjustment to this. Also, there are no real indicators of what's on the map. Like, if you look at the map, there's no town names or unique building names or anything like that, just broad spectrum names of the valley you're in. Even if you hover your mouse over it, which will make navigating and locating specific things in the future a damn near nightmare. However, those are the only real things negatively that I could think of to talk about with this game. Everything else with the game was pretty exceptional. Now, I'm not going to lie and say this is some next big thing like Monster Hunter Wilds. I mean, it could be, but I'm not so sure until it gets some patches and some of that stuff more ironed out. The point is, this game is pretty awesome. I can already feel myself getting sucked into it. I didn't even want to stop playing to come make this review, like I just wanted to keep playing. That's player retention. That's a good thing to have. The game, it's awesome, plain and simple. If you're a fan of farming sim games at least, or fantasy medieval life simulator games, then yeah, this is an awesome game and it's a must play. Now, I don't know if you can have kids in this game or get married and start a family or anything, but the game did mention romance and relationships, so I kind of hope so. I like that immersive ability and component in video games. That's why I like my time at Portia and Sandrock and Stardew Valley and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, the game's pretty sweet. It's not a ripoff, so you're not getting screwed out of your money. It's a bit slower and more awkward than we're used to, but I think with time in-game, it's not going to be that hard to get over some of its more awkward and unfortunate development decisions. Do I recommend the game? Well, if you're a fan of games like this, then yes, absolutely. It is worth its price. I highly encourage it and highly recommend you give it a try. But if you're not, or if you're looking for something a little bit more faster or more adventure or whatever, then you probably might want to move on. This one's a little bit more slower. Alright, everybody? Alright, so that's all the time I got for this video. Sorry I didn't put out a video on Monday like I planned to, but my wife was actually attacked by a dog. True story. She's fine now, and giving me the stink eye right now, so I gotta go. Anyway, if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.